of Trustees of United ISD is being held today, Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020, beginning at 5 p.m. in the United ISD, the Student Activity Complex, Fine Art Building. Subjects to be discussed or considered are, upon which any formal action must be taken, are as listed below. Items that have to be taken in order shown on this meeting notice. Open hearing. Ma'am?
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Mr. Santos, and members of the audience. It is 5:01, and welcome to this evening's DEIC meeting. I'm Angelica Sanchez, the Director for Career and Technical Education and your DEIC Chair. Before we begin with today's public hearing, scheduled for 5 p.m., I would like to approve the November minutes that were emailed to the DEIC voting members. Do I have a motion to approve? Mr. Perez. Do I have a second? Ms. Leindecker. All those in favor, please raise your hand. DEIC one. Thank you so much. The agenda item for this evening is the public hearing on the presentation of UISD's annual report describing the educational and financial performance of the district. Upon the conclusion of the public hearing, I will return to the podium to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, audience, and Mr. Santos. We are here to present the annual report as mandated by state. There's 7 sections to the annual report. We start with the 18-19 academic performance report, the 18-19 district accreditation status. We will talk about the campus performance objectives, PEIMS financial standard report, the report on violent or criminal incidents on campuses, student performance in post-secondary institutions, and finally we'll talk about where we can find the TAPAR glossary. This information on the Texas Academic Performance Report is compiled by TEA for every district and campus using PEIMS, which is the Public Education Information Management System, and also student assessment data. Beginning in 2017-18, the TAPAR is published in 2 different formats. There is a comprehensive and dynamic online systems that is updated anytime there's data available. And then there is the PDF version that we have already printed for every campus to have in their libraries for parents. And now Mr. Gonzalez will begin with the academic performance.
Good evening, Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Santos, members of the audience. As we begin our academic performance 2019, we're looking at our 2018-19 Texas Academic Report Card. Our report for UISD, our 2019 academic rating is an A. We're looking at, following our distinction, designation, post-secondary readiness, with the only distinction in district get throughout the state of Texas, we already received that as well. 2019 special education determination status also met requirements. Continue on looking at our demographics as a district. Out of the 43,278 students, 98.9 Hispanic, economically disadvantaged 75.4, which is 76%, almost 76%. English learners at 34.5, and at risk 55.1. So overall rating performance in detail. How did the district perform overall? As mentioned earlier, as an A, which is 94 out of the 100. We look at student achievement, 90 out of 100, which is an A. School progress, 93 out of 100, an A. Closing the gap, 96 out of 100, an A. And again, where the district performed exceptionally well, it was in the post-secondary readiness, as indicated by our Texas Education Agency. We continue looking at the distinction history. When we look at the distinction history, we look at last year, we're at 157 distinctions, including the one that we received as a district, and this year we went up 28 distinctions to 185. Star performance, all grades and subjects. Looking at the different levels, approaches obviously is the students passing. The meets is 61% out of 78 tests correctly, and finally masters, which we are targeting that's answering approximately 80% or more of the test correctly. As a district, how we fared against the state and the region, approaches at 84% ahead of the state and the region, meets 55%, and in masters 25%, all areas ahead of the state and the region as a district. All grades by subject area, and looking at in our reading, as a district, again, the numbers are there, 78% approaches, 49% meets, and 20% masters. At the second time, I'll be going over the approaches, which is the passing grade. So reading is at 78%, math at 90, writing 76, science 88, social studies 85. At this time, our district academic performance will be turned over to our Executive Director for Accountability, Ms. Demalesa.
Continuing with the information, we're looking also at school progress, and again, comparing to the state and to the region, United ISD was higher on both subjects, and then also in the reading ELA and in the math. Those are the only two content areas that are measured for growth. For students who were non-proficient the previous year, but were able to pass the second year, we are again ahead of the state and of the region at 48% in reading, recovering in the reading, and 64% recovering in the math. When we look at the Student Success Initiative for 5th and 8th grade, these are the students must pass the reading and the math in order to be promoted. We are again ahead of the state. In 5th grade reading at 89% and 8th grade reading at 87%, and for math, 5th grade 97% and 8th grade math at 95%. When we look at our programs, early exit, dual language, and English as a second language, we are a little bit below the region, but we are very comparable with the region and the state as how our students are performing on STAR. Looking at participation rates, we have 100% of our students participate and 96% of our students are in the accountability. So these results represent all of the students that are testing. We only had 2% not accountable due to mobility and 2% for other exclusions. Our attendance rate for the 17-18 school year is 95.8%. A little bit below the previous year, but still ahead of the region and the state. Our dropout rates for both grades 7 through 8 and 9 through 12 are below the state, which is where we want to have them. When we look at our graduation rates, we're very proud because we know that everything that we do is to graduate our students so that they can have a successful post-secondary life. And you can see that in our district for the class of 2018, we graduated 95.9% of the students, so 96% of our students graduated. When we compare that to the state is at 90%. But when we look at just the Hispanic rate for the state, they're graduating 88.2% of the Hispanic subpopulation. So again, elementary through middle through high school, we're making sure that our students are meeting their graduation criteria. When we look at the federal graduation rate, and this is without state exclusions, we are at a 95%, again, ahead of the state. And then not only do we have a very high percentage of our students graduating, when we look at how they are graduating, 89.8, so almost 90% of our students are graduating with a distinguished level of achievement. And again, we attribute it to everything our campus principals and teachers and assistant principals do for our students. Looking at other post-secondary indicators, we look at college, career, and military ready. We had, for the class of 2018, 79.9% of our students were college, career, or military ready. So they were ready to continue their post-secondary life. College-ready graduates, we were at a 54.6 ahead of the state. Career and military, and most of this has to do with the education in career and technology, we were at 57%, almost double in the state. Looking at TSIA, which is an assessment to determine college readiness, we are ahead of the state in reading, a little bit below the state in math. But we are now a district testing site for TSI, so we see these numbers getting better every year. If they don't pass TSI, there's an opportunity to get them college ready through a college prep course. And as you can see, we are way ahead of the state and of the region in providing this to any student that did not meet the TSI requirement. When we look at assessments at the high school level, our AP examinees that are above criteria are at a 59.4%, which is almost 10% higher than the state. SAT, we are a little bit below in the number tested, and then just less than 7% points below the state in meeting the criteria. And again, this is a national assessment. However, in providing students with dual credit opportunities, that means in high school they take college courses. We're at a 56% for the students 9 through 12 in the 17-18 school year. And this is also going to increase because of our early start program that was approved through our board. Looking at how our students do when they enroll in Texas institutions of higher education, we are actually at a 68.8 of our graduates are enrolling in a Texas Institute of Higher Learning. This does not count the ones that go out of state. So this is just in Texas. And if you all remember, the goal of the state of Texas is that by 2030, 60% of the students are either college, have a college degree, a career certificate, or in the military. Well, sending 68.8 is already hitting, you know, that getting closer to that goal much better than the state. A good number to be below the state is the next one. Graduates in a Texas Institute for Higher Education completing 1 year at that institute without enrolling in developmental education courses. So we are at a 50.5% and the state is at a 59.2%. So that's a number that we want to be below the state. When we look at our accreditation status, and this is a year behind for the school year 2018, we are accredited with our A rating in academics and also in finance. Our campus performance objectives, our campus principals begin meeting the first semester, and then they'll complete the process this next semester where they set their objectives for their campuses based on previous results. So now when they get their TAPR report, they will go in and compare to see where they're at based on the goals that they set for their campus. All of those are included in the booklets that we have for every campus. When we look at our student information, Mr. Gonzalez presented that we had 43,278 students, and they break it down by grade level, and they also are showing us our retention rates. Now in our retention rates, in some areas we're slightly higher than the state, but we continue to work with our students to make sure that they are provided the instructional support that they need. When we look at class size, we are slightly higher than the state. So that means we have more students in our classes. However, we're still performing much higher because our curriculum is sound, because our instructional practices are sound, and because our principals are monitoring everything that's happening in their campuses. The demographic data here presented just shows our economically disadvantaged rates, our English learner rates, just as presented by Mr. Gonzalez earlier. And now Mr. Garcia from Human Resources will present staff information.
Good evening, members of the board. Mr. Santos, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to present the following information. Quite honestly, that supports the numbers that were just shared with you. The academic success that we're experiencing does not happen by itself. It happens with great leadership. Hats off to each and every one of you for what you do in guiding your teachers, support staff, working with parents, and all the individuals that make a student well-rounded for they to be successful in school. There we go. When it comes to professional staff, The total number of staff in the school district is 6,397, or that's 100% of our professional full-time staff. The breakdown for professional staff is 3,315.2 teachers, professional staff, professional staff and teachers, 2,585, and so forth. Central campus administration, we look at a number, and I'm trying to look at it this way. There we go. And if we look at campus administration, we look at 452 people, central office, and I'm trying to see the line there, but it's difficult for me. That's 174, educational aides 102, or 748, auxiliary staff 2333, and we look at these are the professional staff members that comprise the instructional team that have direct impact with students in the classroom. The rest of the support staff include librarians, full-time 47, there are no part-timers. Number of counselors, 105. Minority staff, based on the numbers just mentioned, are 6,265. And of course, we look at, which comprises 97.9% of our staff that are minorities. They're pretty much, and those minority groups are broken down in the following field, but they're simply reflective of the population that we work with, and quite honestly, the instructional staff does a great job. And of course, the product are the academic numbers just presented to you. Further breakdown by ethnicity and by gender, African American representation is 2, Hispanic 2,479, white is 79, American Indian 2, Asians 18, no Pacific Islanders, and 2 or more races are 4. This is a very interesting dynamic as to who we are, and we're looking at the following. When we look at our gender, and this is by personal choice, we have 2,000 females of the professional staff that works with it. Females that are number 2,000, males are 584. This is just simply representation of a personal choice that individuals make in order to join the educational profession. And quite honestly, regardless of gender, the school is extremely successful, which has been reflective on the numbers that have just been presented. The next field is teachers by degree. If we look at no degrees and they're teachers in the classroom, these are individuals that normally work in our career technology area. These are individuals where we use wage earning experience in order to bring them to bear, and they do qualify to teach in a professional capacity. Sometimes it's welding, refrigeration, air conditioning, plumbing, and those are the skilled areas that we're able to retain the following staff members to help our students to be successful in the skilled areas. When it comes to bachelor's degree, 1,996, master's degree, 555, doctorate degrees, 10, and quite honestly, that's pretty much the degree status of our professional staff in instructional setting. The next field talks about teachers with experience. Beginning teachers that we have are 63, 1 to 5 years in total numbers is 462, 6 to 10 years of experience, 406, 11 to 20 is 1,145, and over 20 years is 510. Quite honestly, the number of students per teacher is 16.7 compared to the state's 15.1. One of the things that drives this particular graphic is the fact that we work with the available dollars that we have, but it raises the level of commitment and dedication by our teachers, regardless of the numbers that are in the classroom, in order to maximize the instructional effort for students to be successful. And that particular effort is reflective on the numbers that were earlier presented by Ms. Lissa. In our next field, of course, we talk about campus leadership, and it talks about principals and assistant principals with the district and outside of the district. The average years of service by campus administrators is approximately 8 years. And of course, we look at years of service or years of experience of teachers, and we're looking at 13 years, but with the district, 11 years. When we talk about salary, beginning teachers on average make $49,927. Last year's salary for beginning teachers was at $49,000, of course, due to stipends and other opportunities that people have to work additional areas of responsibility pretty much has a bearing on that particular number. The average pay for teachers 1 to 5 years is $51,000, 6 to 10 years, $54,000, 11 to 20 years, $57,000, and over 20 years is $64,000. Let me just point out that in these areas, the school district of UISD outpaces the state when it comes to pay, that contributes to the retention rate, and in turn, that experience and knowledge of the school district and direction from academics, everything having to do with scope, has a direct impact on the successes that we presently experience. The average salaries when it comes to teachers is $57,000, professional support $69,300, campus administration leadership $80,000, central office is $91,000. In this particular graphic, in most areas that the UISD exceeds the pay with the exception of central office. May I also point out that the percentage of instructional staff on the numbers briefly presented to you, 55.5% of our staff is instructional. At the state level, it's 64.5%. And the last graphic that is highly important is our turnover rate. And our turnover rate has a direct bearing in the academic success that we've experienced. Our turnover rate is 3 times less than the state average. Contributing factors to this particular graphic are board support and consistency, leadership as it comes out of the superintendent's office, direction from CNI, leadership at the campus levels, the support, salary, benefits, including families, because their support is also critical for individuals wanting to come to work in order for us to be successful in an instructional setting. And last but not least, we grow our own. And we have our programs that are embedded in that. So quite honestly, hats off to the leadership, our board, superintendent of schools, for the successes that are being experienced, I guess, a year ago, and it continues now. And I think that this year, hopefully, the rubber meets the road and we do it again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Laida Benavides. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business, and I'm going to talk to you about money, or lack of. So the data that I'm going to show you comes from PEAMS, and it should be right. The 2017-18 data, so we're about a year behind on this. This is the information that I'll be going over. Not every single number, there's a lot of numbers. And like Ms. Bessa said, each campus has their own financial report, so if you have some time during your off period, you can go by and borrow the hard copy that Emma's made for every campus. The actual financial data for United ISD shows, again, focusing on 43,212 students. All this is broken down on a per student basis. And so what I wanted to point out was that, I kind of missed a little red dot, but that's okay. The per student for United ISD is $11,234. And if you see the difference between the student for districts, for us, United ISD, compared to the state, I kind of got my calculator out. And actually, on average, the state is higher by $495 more per student. That's $500 more per student that the state, on average, gets out there or has in receipts compared to UISD. That turns out to be about $21 million more. And I'm going to tell you, we could do a lot with $21 million more. So again, attributed to you, we do a lot with a lot less. We do a lot more with a lot less than other school districts. Another number that's really important to us in this page is this unassigned fund balance. And at this point, we're at 65.3 million. The way you can look at that number, it's kind of like our savings account. It's that money that you have in the bank, that you haven't committed to anything, but it's there for things that you're going to need later, or things that you just cannot cover, parking lots that just are in horrible shape out there, bleachers. I mean, I could give you a list that Mr. Rangel brings every day to us. So that amount is very important for us. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but in a heartbeat, it can be spent. The next page, again, a lot of numbers. I'm going to give y'all kind of like an idea. Right here is our payroll expense of $341 million. And so when we tell you all that the bulk of our budget is tied up in payroll, because that's what we're about. We're about human resources, 80% of our budget is tied up in payroll. And you know what, it's kind of typical, when you throw in all our monies like construction, it comes down to 64 compared to the state at 59%. So it doesn't mean that we're heavy on staffing. You saw Mr. Garcia's numbers. It's just that we do commit our resources to human resources, because you know what, that's what makes a difference out there. You can have the best equipment and everything, but if you don't have the best teachers or leaders, it's not going to work. So the other number I wanted to show you, just to kind of enlighten you all, capital outlay. Here's our $92.6 million. That is pretty much what we've been spending in our bond program. We're pretty much almost complete with it. We still lack a couple of buildings that we need to make, but that probably will go away eventually as we finish our building program. The other number I wanted to show you was under instruction right here. If you look at instruction and just kind of go all the way across, we spend in total $240 million in instruction and instruction related items. That's 55% of all the money we get, and in comparison to the state, they're at 55% as well. So it just shows you that we're right on target with the state. Even though we get $500 less a student, we manage to spend and invest in instruction like the rest of the state. And then another number I wanted to let you know, security, compared to the state, we invest 2.17%, the state 0.95. And I think that number for the state and other district, it's going to change very soon. We are way ahead of the other districts in security. We have our police stations, we have our police officers, we have our security guards. I know that my counterparts are out there scrambling to see where they're going to get the funds to put a police officer in every campus. So I think we're ahead of the game here. And then another one I wanted to show you right here, total expenditures per student, $13,237. That's all money, construction and everything, right? At the state level, $14,193. Again, my point is, here we are spending almost $950 less per student, and seeing the results that we get, the beautiful buildings that we have. I mean, I think we are very efficient. I think because we do the things for the right reason, that's why we have the results we have, and we're efficient in our operations. Finally, I think this is my last slide. I wanted to share here, it kind of breaks it down by program. Some of the main programs I would say there, we spend 60% on regular, this is all your regular basic classes. The state spends 59. So as I was going down this list, I said, you know what, we're right in tune with the state. For Kate, we're at 4.5%, and here 4% for the state. So as you go down, you'll see that we are in line. Students with disabilities, which is special ed, 15.47%, the state 15.92%. Then what I did want to share with you, because just in case your comadre and compadre complain about how much we spend on athletics, you can let them know that athletics, we spend 2.48%. I'm sorry. Yes, and it's less than what the state spends, 2.71%. So we're not spending more than everybody else. So I think these are good numbers to look at. It keeps you in mind, like you kind of get an idea, like we are spending things in the right places. We are getting results from it. And then one more slide. This is our tax rate. We are at $1.27, which is less than the $1.30 that the state averages. These are our property values. We are at $14.3 billion. This is the makeup of it, residential, business, and some minerals. We have less reliance on minerals. That number used to be more, that 20.67 used to be closer to like 35%. And then finally, here's that unassigned balance that I tell you that we want to hang on to, because it helps us do things that come up, just like emergencies at your own home. And then this is just an accounting thing. 17% of our fund balance is related to our budget. And actually, it's lower than the state. We wish we could be at 27%. But you know what? I think we're doing the right things for kids. You don't want to have a $100 million fund balance and have an F, right? I mean, so I think all these reports kind of are related to each other. So anyway, that's my report. Y'all have a nice evening. And thank you and congratulations for the awesome job y'all do every day.
Thank you, Lida. We are truly blessed at United ISD when we talk about funding. I have some individuals who have moved on to other districts, and some of the stories we hear, we're so fortunate that our board supports us, Mr. Santos, and our finance department supports us with the many resources we have available for our kids and for ourselves as well to do our job. My name is Lynette Bettis. I'm the Director for Discipline Management and Student Relations, and I want to talk to you today about the safe and drug-free schools. One of the areas I'm going to be discussing is going to be the number, rate, and type of violent and criminal incidents that we've had. Last school year, we had 84 assaults reported. 84 assaults reported to the state. Of course, from those assaults, we do take into consideration children that participate in special programs, etc. We had 2 aggravated assaults and 1 sexual assault. There is a slight increase from the prior year, from 70 to 84. It is less than 1% of our enrollment, which is 42,892. That's what we ended the school year with. And up next, we have Ms. Rebecca Morales, and she's going to be discussing some of our violent prevention interventions that we have in the district and why our incident rates are so low. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Santos, and members of the audience. My name is Rebecca Morales. I am the Executive Director for Federal and State Programs. Under Title IV, Part A, Activities to Support Healthy Students, our district's goal 2 is directly aligned to Every Student Succeeds Act activities to support safe and healthy students. The purpose of these activities is to support comprehensive drug use and prevention and violence programs that are coordinated with community-based services and programs, foster safe, healthy, supportive, and drug-free environments, promote the involvement of parents in the activity or program, and are conducted in partnership with other entities. Some of our strategies do include providing instructional supplies and materials, staff development, parent-student presentations, and drug education and prevention programs. The components of the Safe and Healthy Students program are curriculum and instruction, staff development, and parental involvement, all with a clear and consistent no-use message about the use of drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and violence. Curriculum and instruction, the first component, our teachers, our counselors are encouraged to use materials, community resources that will obviously enhance our TEKS. We do have other instructional initiatives as well, such as our bully-free programs, gang awareness, our gang intervention facilitators. As Ms. Annette Perez mentioned earlier, we have the Ropes Challenge course, our LCDCs, and our positive behavior facilitators. Under staff development, the next component, it is a priority once again at UISD to maintain a safe school environment. So yearly, our district requires our employees to be trained on items such as student and employee code of conduct, classroom management, identifying and reporting child abuse, maintaining professional standards, bullying intervention, mental health intervention, and suicide prevention training, just to name a few. Of course, there are other awareness sessions available at the campus or department's request for any students that have any employees that have direct contact with students. Under parent and community engagement, many opportunities are afforded to our parents and the community in order to have them become actively involved in our district comprehensive drug, alcohol, tobacco, and violence prevention programs. These activities would be those such as our Parent Learning Summit, which is held annually, our United Council of Parent meetings that are held 4 times a year, LCDC campus presentations, Red Ribbon Week, and of course our campuses do hold individual campus parent sessions and trainings at their respective campuses. As far as our evaluation summary findings for some of the programs that we do use, our random drug testing program, as per the Risk Management Department report this past school year for 2018-19, there were 8,676 students involved in extracurricular activities eligible for random drug testing. Of these students, 1,056 were randomly tested during the school year, with 18 students testing positive for drugs. This program is in its 11th year of operation. For the on-demand drug testing kits, which is handled through the Guidance and Counseling Department, we had this past year during 2018-19, you can see the table there, we had 512 kits distributed, and these kits do give parents the ability to test their child for marijuana, cocaine, amphetamines, rohypnol, and heroin. We do have the ROPES UISD Challenge course, and the table that you see there was provided to us by one of our LCDCs, Mr. Jose Martinez. This challenge course is a set of low and high elements, which consist of rope, cable, telephone poles, and/or trees. It is designed, the design is formatted to have participants problem solve and take healthy risks, and also help them with the ability to communicate effectively with peers on other options. Finally, for the Gun-Free Schools report, which is a compliance report that needs to be submitted yearly, the school district during the 2018-19 school year reported that no students were expelled for bringing a firearm or a handgun to school. Under persistently dangerous schools, this past school year, during 2018-19, UISD had none of the campuses identified as persistently dangerous schools. And for the Uniting Families Initiative at STEP Academy, the Student Relations and Discipline Management Department, headed by Ms. Annette Perez, has been providing parents of STEP Academy students 4 required parenting sessions that are communication skills, gang awareness and intervention, drug awareness and intervention, and behavior strategies, and law enforcement. And for this past school year, 2018-19, 170 out of 547 students completed the required sessions and received a 6-day reduction in their placement, and 8 students attended for 3 days and received a 4-day reduction in placement. Thank you.
Looking at section 6 of our report, this is again looking at performance in post-secondary institutions. The data is compiled by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and the most current report that we have is for the 2016-17 high school graduates. In this report, they tell us how our students are doing in either a 4-year Institute of Higher Education or a 2-year. And to sum it up, approximately 76% of our students earned a GPA above a 2.0, which is a C, at either the 2 or the 4-year public education. Bringing it to section 7, we talk about the TAPAR glossary. That is something that is produced by the state and it is included in our books. The definitions in the glossary describe the methodologies, the list sources for each data point in the TAPAR, and there will be a Spanish version, but that one will be released later in the spring. The district's TAPAR has actually already been posted on the website, and the campus TAPAR has been posted on every campus's website. Paper copies will be available at the district central office and also on each campus. And then of course you can call me, Emma Lesa, Executive Director for Instructional Accountability, for any questions that anybody might have on TAPAR. Thank you.
Close it out this evening. I want to thank all our A-rated stakeholders at UISD. We belong, we evolve, we achieve. Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Rodriguez, Santos, I would like to recognize to my meter right here, our principals here present this evening who lead our campus on a daily basis. I want to thank them as well for this time, I call our chair for DIC, Ms. Angie Sanchez, to close.
It is now 5:40 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All those in favor? The DIC meeting is adjourned. Have a great evening.